thing, right? If you leave the Rumble open, of course you're going to take the Rumble, even if it's maybe not one of Shanji's best picks, one of the best picks in the meta at the moment. And now, the fact that you're able to get the Scion, he just looks so good on it. You can buy so much space and time to leave exactly what you're looking for here. Now, this would be interesting. We've been seeing some Yorick floating around. I hope we get to see it at some point during this series. It's always fun to see. Instead, for the minute, we're going to take one of these standard pickups in the Xin Zhao.
You know, I saw Ben hover that Trundle for a second. It made me think, every time I've looked through and I've just perused the champions that a lot of these players play in the LPL, Trundle has popped up on a couple of lists, including jungle. Don't think it's particularly good right now, but against the right team composition, a team composition that we expect an IP to maybe play, who knows? That could actually be a crazy good pick, because we expect a bunch of tanks coming out from an IP. But for BLG, pretty stock standard. You're going to go with the Xin Zhao, the early pressure with the Taliyah as well, with the seismic shove, means that this combo is potent.
Let's see what we're going to get right here. Could potentially be a pickup towards the jungle at the moment. You've lost a lot of the very strongest ones. Oh, do you just go for the straight up dive composition already?
Yeah.
You usually see that paired up alongside either the Xin Zhao or the Vi. The fact those are gone is a little bit harder to play. We saw it paired up with the Pantheon earlier today to great effect in our first series. Potentially you can go towards something like that here. Yeah, it looks like that's going to be the option.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too big of a surprise there. It really feels like the best fit for all the junglers that we really see. And that will be the Pantheon. So you do get that early pressure as well. I do wonder if it'll go to Doinb, because, like, you know, we see it as a regular flex between jungle and support. But for an IP, it is a triple flex. Doinb will play at mid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He is happy to play almost anything. That is one of the best things about this player, and something that still is here.
League.
The flexibility. Yeah. Champion Ocean and a half, but it is actually going to be the Yorick locked right in here for BLG. So Bin, who's been having a bit of an interesting time so far, yeah, he knows. He knows people are thinking about him. Yeah,
he's like trying not to smile. He's got that.
Yeah.
He was like, all right, it's Yorick time, baby.
Oh yeah.
But Ben, fantastic split pusher, as we all know. Getting the split push champion, it makes me so sad that this champion is catching on in popularity more and more, because I hate playing against it. Because my macro is good, the rest of my team's is not. We'll see if NIP's macro is up to snuff, or if this Yorick will cause some problems for them. Second half of bans, we're already seeing Lilia getting taken off the board, and the Nico.
Nico been such a strong support recently, just so much power that you could put in, especially in these kind of front-to-back teamfight compositions. The thing for BLG now that you've got the Yorick is you need to get yourself plenty of setup without having to worry about your top laner being involved, and you need to be able to do enough damage in and amongst these champions. It's pretty tricky to play out, but the trade-off is that you're getting a Yorick mauling towers up in the top side or the bottom side, wherever the fight isn't at the moment. It does put a lot on your opponent's macro too. The composition right here from NIP, very aggressive, very dive-orientated, and then you've got that late-game scaling of the Scion, who just becomes a wall later on, and we actually saw it in the previous series again, where something like the Taliyah, yes, does a ton of damage over the course of the game, but the majority of it is her just throwing stones straight at the Scion, who's able to absorb that damage without really having to worry about it.
Victor and Kalista, the final two bans. This does mean that BLG left the door open for a Doinb Galio pick. This would mean that the Pantheon would either go to ppgod or to, excuse me, to Aki. I think that a Kalista Pantheon would be pretty okay, but I like the response of the Xayah here. Should be very, very safe for Elk. Okay. See what the option is here for Doinb. Again, hovering that Silas, which has a very high win rate for him for the split. Don't know if it's going to be the best option, but he will lock it in anyway.
Okay. Alright, I mean, you've got a couple of decent ultis. None of them are really best in class. You're not looking at any of these as the best available ultis in the game. Still, though, it's one of the best champions we've seen from Doinb. It does put Aki right here onto the Pantheon. ppgod going to grab himself this Rel. This is a great Poppy game, actually. This is a sick Poppy game. Really like this pickup right here. On, you just stop so much of what NIP are trying to do. I think very specifically the Pantheon and the Silas are now going to have to think a couple of times before they go flying in, because if you don't and you get stunned up instantly, these champions are not very tanky.
You're right. I do worry that, you know, giving the Poppy ultimate over to Doinb to steal away could potentially come back to bite them. Obviously, I still think you have to lock the Poppy. I think that's why the Rel was locked in, is they were like, hey, let's make sure that we get an impactful ultimate for Doinb to take, because it's either going to be Alistar or it's going to be Poppy, which are happy with either of them. If you can just Poppy ult better in team fights, you'll be pretty happy with that. But for BLG, that Poppy Hammer isn't to win a team fight. It is to disengage, because you just want to make sure that Bin is able to do his thing in a side lane.
Exactly. You are very much reliant on getting your Sion into a spot where he can split push and just start taking every tower he even claps eyes on. One thing I worry about in this game is whether or not we're going to see the dreaded teamfight Yorick. I do not want to watch Bin get involved in basically any of these teamfights. Small skirmishes that are around your area, fine, especially around the grubs. Yorick loves being able to get the grubs. It just amplifies your power in so many ways. But anytime there's a big teamfight happening, topside around Baron, I want to see Bin bot side pushing towers. Because the thing is, as soon as you join up with the rest of your team in this situation, you're making the choice so easy for NIP. The Sion wants to be with the rest of the team, doesn't want to be dealing with the Yorick in the side lane. You push towers, you draw the members of NIP to you. Hopefully you're strong enough that you have to bring a couple of members over as NIP, and all of a sudden this game looks great for BLG.
And hopefully you survive, and if you don't, maybe your team is able to get the cross map off. Took us a little bit, but we finally made it. Game 1 here. This best of 3 series between NIP and BLG.
Alrighty, very exciting matchup right here. BLG, they're trying to crack their way into that top 4. They do not want to go play against some of the Group Nirvana teams in that play-in stage. They want to be straight into the playoffs. They are looking at bigger and better things. LPL titles, international titles right here. For NIP, they're very much trying to stop the slide. It's been a real downhill progression for them since the end of split number 1. Pretty tough opponent for them to try to start this with, but hey, it's got to begin somewhere.
Doinb going to open up with a door and a shield. No surprise, really. What we're looking for NIP is, because Doinb likes to move around so much in the early going and be more of a facilitator, would expect him and Aki to link up very well. We talked about the potent power of Wei and Knight and the champions that they are on. Yep. But Aki and Doinb have a little bit of that power themselves. Now Knight does have the disruption. He's able to put down those Legos. It'll micro stun Aki and Doinb if they try to do anything too crazy, as the junglers will be starting on opposite sides of the map.
Indeed, we are going to see Aki right here work his way up towards the top side of the map. It makes a lot of sense, because if you can try to get involved in the Yorick lane early, always going to be something great, because this champion left on his own to his own devices, just going to begin to scale up, get himself into a good spot to start on the towers. On the other side, Wei, working down towards the bottom side of the map. If you can shut down Leave, we've been speaking about it, right? This guy is the main carry right here for NIP. The other members have been faltering. He's maybe had a couple of mispositioning errors, but really, when NIP win, it's entirely off the back of Leave.
Yeah, talking about some of those other members, I want to point to Aki, right, who's going to have a really big role to play in this particular match because of his global ultimate, being able to get this Kai'Sa into the backline perhaps and really enable Leave. These much maligned junglers at this point, I think, I have to ask, do you think that on the other side, Xin Zhao is a dishwasher champion? Or do you think this is I need to cook in the kitchen, right? Because now all of a sudden we're talking about like Wei has to balance that, and Aki has to make sure that he's making good plays and positioning well in these fights to make sure that NIP has a chance.
I think you're something in the middle, right? You're not just a straight up dishwasher. This is not Sejuani duty that we're seeing right here. Maybe, yeah. At the same time, you can carry if you need to, if you get a couple of kills early, but you still provide quite a lot of utility to your team later on. I think more than anything, it's the Crescent Guard for me, right? If you're able to stop a lot of that damage from Leave and Arky from really landing, but still draw their focus away from Knight and Elk, then you're going to be putting yourself in a very good spot. I think in this game as well, where you've got a Yorick for your top laner, it does put more pressure right here onto the Xin Zhao even, because you've got to be part of that big engage, right? You've got not too many engage options and very few non-committal engage options at the moment. On's fully committal. It's really only Knight and Elk who can try for stuns elsewhere. So I think, yeah, there is going to be a lot of pressure right here onto Wei to be a big part of this game.
I like that you mentioned the stuns, because BLG a little low in that department.
Yeah.
Bin and Shanji going to go at it. Aki has shown up to the party. Ward goes down. Bin does have a summoners. He will get stunned up, but he's going to hold this flash in the back pocket, try to sustain through. Taking a lot of damage and will flash that giant axe.
Yeah, had to make sure he didn't get hit by that decimating smash. Oh, now the engage in the bot
Oh, this is
lane.
a great pick on the ppgod. Wei waits out the flash. On gets first blood. There's a wave here too, as Leave is in a lot of trouble trying to eviscerate this wave. He's going to flash to the backside of the turret as Wei is looking to take him down. Good flash from Wei as well. They balance the turret aggro perfectly, and BLG doing well.
On very nearly taking another tower shot right there. They're just about going to be able to push this one through. I think they're actually going to be able to fully push this wave in as well. Brilliant play right here for BLG. It's a little bit squeaky in the end. You do end up losing your flashes onto all three members involved in the dive, but same thing for the opposition bot lane, and you manage to pick up a couple of kills. Now, they do go on both of the kills. Not ideal, would have preferred them onto either Wei or Elk, but still, you're getting that power early on, and hey, the Poppy is going to be a big part of this game plan as well.
Take a look at the replay here. It's just really fantastic. Wei leaves that ward behind. ppgod got lured on the false sense of security. They knew where he was the entire time, Bloxxer.
Yeah. Wei at this point walks into the opposition jungle, basically just to buy a little bit of space to draw.
There was a kill in
yeah.
picture-in-picture.
Who just died?
Bin just died. Now, I was going to point out that they sent bot lane top that NIP, and they did kill Bin in picture-in-picture. I'm sure we'll get a replay of that very shortly. But Bin is now teleporting back, as he was flashless.
Yeah. I mean, without the flash, very easy repeat gank, exactly what we would have wanted to see, but clearly it wasn't Aki that got involved. Ewood does not have any part of this kill. It was just straight up 2v1 kill. Yeah, I mean, that's a big mistake right there from Bin. And he is a member we've been talking about, right, who such high highs, great ceiling for this guy, but in this split specifically, hasn't been particularly consistent for the team. Some great performances, some where you're really hoping for just a bit more from this guy. And in this game right now, dying early on, we'll have a look at it again in picture-in-picture. Never allowed to watch this one fully. He just recalls in a warded bush greedily, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, and it was not really the greatest cage there, as he was not able to stop anybody. And now, up on the top side, BLG going to start up on these grubs. They already have one. Looks like they should be able to at least get two without too much of an issue. Doinb and Aki moving around. The second one will be secured. ppgod. We're going to get over this wall, but nothing doing there. Just going to salvage at least one grub.
At least they're not going to give away all three. The grubs could be pretty impactful in this game. Bin very much wants them. It just gives you so much extra power on this Yorick. See if they're going to fight particularly hard for the next set. We do obviously have a Drake up and available at the moment as well. It is going to be a Cloud Drake, so not exactly one that everybody is tripping over themselves to go and pick up, but still, would like to see it.
Yeah, at least that means you're not going to get a Cloud Soul, right?
True.
Doinb does have the Xin Zhao ultimate in the back pocket. Here comes Pantheon coming in as they're looking for a play on the night. Will be forced to flash away.
Okay, Aki, what?
Doinb is going to join the party too, but the micro stuns, are they enough to do anything? Doinb taking up turn shots, but a good ultimate. That stolen Xin Zhao ultimate to make sure he secures the 1-for-1.
Had to go in there because he was gonna die either way. At least Doinb is able to pick up that kill, but now both of the mid laners get an extra kill. The wave sits in a neutral state at the moment, so no real winners or losers from this one, other than right now BLG actually pushing forwards, trying to steal away this red buff. Totally spotted out and potentially being collapsed upon right here. I don't think you can finish this one up.
Okay, splits the gap to Shanji. It's, hey, listen, you don't need to land them all. Wei is going to use Wind Becomes Lightning to get over to this dragon. Wonder if he'll stay on it, but it looks like he will walk off as the rest of NIP hovering around the bot side. Bin is doing Bin things. 2 plates on the top side.
Exactly what you want to be doing right here. This is how you get yourself a lead as the Yorick. It's not about ganks. It's not about getting involved in any of these skirmishes or anything. No. You absorb tower plating and then full towers later on into the game. And then you use the tech where you can put Maiden into one lane, go push another one, make sure the rest of your team is getting involved in a third. And the game can begin to play itself. It really is a big test of NIP's ability to play the map. Something, I gotta be honest, they've not been so hot at this split.
No, not at all. And already using one of your globals to just go 1-for-1 is really not it. And, you know, one thing that we didn't really mention, Aki and Doinb, well, Doinb got there pretty snappily. It didn't look like they were really on the same page. I don't think he expected Aki to get there and, you know, flash. But, you know, he was able to follow up on it. Good on him as Doinb has his own Maiden. He's a
Oh,
handsome man.
actually,
You know, I do expect the
yeah.
maidens to go after him.
Exactly, of course. And to be fair, in this situation, the fact that Bin's Maiden survives is huge. That's so much of your ability to skirmish up against a champion like the Silas gone once the Maiden does fall. And that is... Oh, hang on. Shanji, is he about to get dove right here? He's already pretty tanky
right.
to know, though.
See what he can do in the 3v1. He's already going to lose one plate here. Everybody's showed up. They're just waiting. Ignite goes down. On is going to start tanking up. He's going to charge Shanji into the turret. And On will be able to survive on just a sliver.
And now the cross-map play is going to be a dive right here onto Bin. Who's going to start this one? Up. In they go. Just an easy kill here. Yeah,
they make it look easy on that one. As Doinb will be the one who gets credit for the kill. Now it's time for them to take a couple of turret plates on the top side.
Yeah, and with Doinb's Maiden up, this one is going to fall pretty fast. You can see it right here. Kind of melting through these plates. There's a ton of gold going over to Doinb right now. He's got himself about a 600 gold advantage in this individual lane. So cross-map plays happening across the board at the moment. We've got the second set of grubs, though, spawning in 30 seconds time. BLG very much going to want to grab this one for themselves. Resets coming through. Let's see, anybody getting particularly close to their first items? No, nobody particularly accelerated in this game.
Gonna send Knight up to the top side to clean this up. They'll put Bin in the mid lane as well. So maybe we'll see if Bin elects to end up joining. But it looks like he's headed to the bot side to go match the Scion. And NIP, full deployment onto this top side.
They are sending all of the members up this way. And actually, I spoke a little bit too soon. You are going to have first items completed onto Aki and Doinb. Now, it's just the rower here for Doinb, so not really going to be increasing his power right now. Much more impactful, though, is going to be that Sundered Sky completed here onto Aki. That increases your skirmishing power on this Pantheon tenfold.
Really good ultimate trade, in my opinion, too. As once you're already in the fight and you have a lot of face time here, you lose a lot of value out of the Pantheon ultimate, but Knight no longer having the Weaver's Wall is going to be big now. NIP is outmanned right here as Leave needs to link up with the rest of the team. Shanji is on his way up to potentially turn this into a 5v4 instantly. Knight getting tagged by the Kaisa as the first grub will go the way of NIP. Doinb chunked out just a little bit. And it looks like they might pull off. It's just a big game of chicken. Keeper's Verdict getting channeled. But NIP is well out.
Yeah, but all of that hovering time that Shanji had, looking like maybe he was going to go in if BLG stepped up too far, just by hovering around and forcing Shanji to keep respecting having to go join up with the rest of the team, it allows more time for Bin to go and have one-on-one time right there with the tower, gets it down very, very low, and still there's 2 grubs available to be fought over.
All right, going all the way. Big damage coming out. Another Keeper's Verdict channel. That one will go in the back pocket for a couple more seconds. Zaki, ppgod down to about half HP.
They're still going.
Yeah, more grubs have been started. This is just a big game of chicken right now. Shanji doesn't have teleport, so he can't join. Aki below half HP is on Knight and Wei. Look to make their way in. Zao ultimate stolen away. That's a second grub secured. Keeper's Verdict going to knock out Doinb. And it'll be an even 3-3 split for grubs. ppgod goes in for Elk. He's forced to cleanse. Elk could be in trouble. Doinb trying to get there, but ppgod takes too much damage and he falls. On going to stuff Doinb from getting in. Now trying to get to Elk. Switches his target to On. Gets the kill, but is stuck in the pit with Wei trying to heal up. Meanwhile, over on the side, Knight gets 2v1. Now it's a 2v2, but Leave full HP, no mana, no chase.
Yeah, not going to be able to do anything more in that one, and it turns into a 2-for-2 in terms of the kills. A little bit of a crazy play right there. And I don't fully understand why ppgod went flying in that situation. I mean, Elk still had the ulti up and available, so he wasn't particularly likely to die. And although there was some decent healing coming through from Doinb, he just wasn't able to keep himself alive. I'd like to see a replay of this one to really try to understand why the call was made by NIP to attempt the re-engage.
Yeah, I don't understand either. You got the grubs, and here's the replay perfectly timed.
Yeah.
You're even on grubs here. If BLG takes the last one, that's okay.
Yeah, you've just had your mid laner punted into next week, so he's taking a while to be able to go rejoin, and Elk still has ulti. Doesn't even need to pop it until later on in this fight right here. Like, yes, you do manage to get yourself a couple of kills on the backside of this one, and I think, importantly, Leave is able to grab one of these, so it is something. But still, it's the sort of engage where you're like, I don't know that you needed to do that right there as ppgod.
I mean, Leave at least gets a shutdown. So as On was It was really big.
Yeah.
Remember, he got those first 2 kills. So, you get a little bit of extra gold in Leave's pocket. And, no discernible advantage yet on the bottom side. His Ocean Dragon is up. BLG up on the plate game, no surprise. Because of what Ben has been able to do is he is here for this Dragon. Knight going to clear out this bottom side. And it looks like NIP are going to struggle to find a way in.
Indeed, they are. Now, the thing is right now, you've got your Yorick in the area. Not exactly ideal in terms of map play, but you do manage to grab that Drake. He's going to be traded back for a tower right now. Shanji has been doing a decent job of at least trying to keep up with the push that Bin's able to be putting down. Sion also a pretty decent split pushing champion overall, especially with that ulti to go join up with the rest of the team. With that Drake falling, the next objective is going to be the Rift Herald. 1 minute and 15 seconds until that one is going to spawn. Again, with any team that's looking to take down towers as a main priority, BLG likely to try to fight around this one. Still, NIP have shown that they are more than willing to scrap at the moment.
All right, Doinb in a 1v1 here. Loses out on that end, which is a little bit of a surprise, but in the fact that Jinzhao seems a little bit stronger right now. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. One thing to note is, although it seems to be relegated to a bit of a footnote, feats of strength still on the table for either of these teams. BLG one objective away from securing it, as NIP had gotten first turret. Knight will equalize the turrets by taking one for himself here.
Yeah, I'm just very much going to be wanting to play around this spawning Rift Herald. 30 seconds until that one's up, and actually kind of sucks for Bin that he loses Maiden right there. Not the kind of situation in which you really want to have that ability gone. She's very important to his pushing, to his ability to really impact on the map. Without Maiden, you also really don't want to be team fighting. Bjork barely a champion without his best friend.
A little bit of a scrap for the crab here. It looks like that will go over to NIP. BLG really want to get into NIP's jungle. That's what they're so good at. As on the rejection there, using the steadfast presence, rejects Doinb again.
Alright. So tense at the moment. Both these teams clearly looking for scrapping. Good dodge right there from Shanji. Not that he was likely to die in that situation. Pretty dang tanky at this point on the Sion, even pre having that first item available. Majority of the champions in the game do have that first item up at this point. BLG small advantage.
Right.
Hang on though.
Way down to half. Keeper's verdict. Again, held in the back pocket by On. Is this objective
at
is
some
up.
point.
Yeah, he's going to use it eventually, but right now Wei is going to have to retreat for a little bit as pings go down onto the Rift Herald. And with 3 grubs apiece, not going to be too crazy for either side, but still a useful objective. Is Shanji getting down to about half HP, and IP starting to position down closer. It looks like there will be no contest here from BLG.
No, it is just going to be picked up nice and easily right here for NIP. They're using their early skirmishing power between the Pantheon and the Silas very effectively at the moment. And now just going to head back to base. This game really has not been overly explosive at this point. For the minute, it is just going to be a lot of farming going on. Doinb once again going to yoink away the Maiden. Has very much been favouring this ulti. There's not that many amazing ultis in the game overall, and at least for the laning phase, even in this mid-game right here, having the Maiden up and available, it just gives you so much extra skirmishing power and extra pushing power alongside it. Makes sense that this is going to be the main target for the moment. Once we get into these team fights, maybe there'll be a difference. Perhaps you want to grab Wei or Elk's ultis for a little bit of extra survivability when you go flying into the backline.
Yeah. The Maiden is just what you have to pick up, as you said, just because it means that you can actually stand up to Yorick in the side lane and not just cede absolutely everything. As NIP has done pretty well to keep Bin in check so far. We'll see if that keeps up. We're really just waiting for NIP to get strong enough for them to see an opportunity, take an opportunity, and have Leave and Doinb take over a fight. But if Doinb is busy in the side lane trying to shut down Bin, the fight will have to happen around them. And when it comes to objectives being up, definitely a worry. Speaking of objectives, a minute until this next dragon. BLG looking to put themselves on Soul Point, which means that NIP certainly has some incentive to fight.
Oh yeah, very much. You don't want to be giving Soul Point over at this point in the game. Far too early for that.
Oh, forced to cleanse. Here comes Knight. It's 4v2 for right now. Teleport coming in. Aki down to below half HP. Getting lower, trying to get away. Survives from now. Doinb joins the fight, but so does Bin as the teams are split. Doinb's in the middle of the fight right now. The Maiden putting in serious work. Shanji on the backside trying to run distraction. York's Maiden dies, but still there. Still trying to wade through the crap as Shanji. He's got a flash over the wall. Bin is in hot pursuit, will not be able to get more. Nobody goes down, Bloxxer.
Yeah, we lose a couple maidens
Wait a minute,
in that
hold
fight.
on.
Actually,
Might have spoke too
wait.
soon.
Oh no!
As they find Leave. Great play from On and Knight.
What did I say? What did I say, Annie? It's the mispositioning errors from Leave that have been costing NIP dearly right now. Great seismic shove back too.
Your problem, ppgod falls before Aki can get in there, and it's just a broken fight. BLG taking advantage.
This is another fight, right, where NIP step up after the initial engage goes down, think that they can re-engage, and they really can't. Now they're going to lose themselves this Drake, and it is going to be soul point picked up here for BLG.
And not only that, but you have a discernible gold advantage now of about 1,500. Doinb teleport again, looking to break this up. Dragon's going to be secured. NIP, they have to make a move soon. Shanji's ultimate still on cooldown. BLG able to live through that. Rift Herald getting good damage, but not going to get the turret.
I mean, Doinb maybe can step up and try to take this one down, but it's just so unfortunate. Shanji teleports into that fight and just runs. Has to get away pretty much immediately. It was such a split fight, a broken fight, like you said, where nobody is able to just draw the lines in the sand and try to front to back. Instead, it's a complete and utter mess.
Oh!
Atakan actually going to be started. This, I've seen NIP throw around Atakan before. Uh-oh.
This is aggressive. Maybe NIP thinks that they're at a great advantage or a too big of a disadvantage. But BLG has joined the party. They're about 3,000 HP, getting lower. Who's going to secure it? Looks like it's going to go to NIP, but now BLG trying to win the fight as Doinb engaged on. ppgod getting low, big knockups coming through as Aki's in there too. They find On, but the health bar starting to dip lower and lower. A lot of flowers on the ground trying to pick them up as well. Elk doing some serious damage on the Leave as Leave will fall. Elk dies on the backside to the dead body of Shanji as NIP were able to scoop up a good amount of those flowers, but are now cut off by the Weaver's Wall. The engage goes down onto Bin. The Maiden trying to help out. Big seismic shove from Knight as the health bars drop, and BLG win the fight.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you managed to get yourself the Atakan, but I don't really know who was able to pick up all of the petals in that situation. It looks like BLG grabbed a decent amount of them. NIP grab a couple too, and we'll have a look back at this one. Actually, this is the initial play. This is a while ago that this one ended up happening. Elk, the instant cleanse on this one, and this fight turns into a mess. I mean, look at the teleport in right here onto the backside from Shanji. He arrives in this fight and sort of immediately has to get running and never actually gets anything useful done in this fight whatsoever.
Yeah, he's really just like, hey guys, I'm in there. It's probably time to leave.
Yeah.
Speaking of leave, I mean, On just once again, a great flash heroic charge. He's done that a couple times this game. Really kicks off this entire sequence.
Exactly. Slightly worried that this was going to be a steal, but actually a good pushback onto Wei stops him from being able to get involved in this fight. The thing is, though, this is a Taliyah fight all the way. Taliyahs love long, slow fights that take a lot of time and move across a lot of ground because you're just throwing these rocks constantly. The amount of damage you can do as Taliyah across the course of this kind of fight is insane. And you can see here the seismic shove, just gorgeous. And this is not going to be a Taliyah who's dealing that much damage overall right now because the items just aren't there at this point. Once these full item breakpoints come online here for Knight, if you have this similar kind of fight, oh boy, you can just run through it. And actually, I love that. Reflected in the build path as well is going to be an 8-stack Medjai's in his back pocket.
Known for building that Medjai's. Certainly one of his favorite item options as Aki gets engaged on. Stolen Keeper's Verdict will keep him alive for now. Knight coming through on the Weaver's Wall. And all of a sudden, he's found himself in a 3v1. He's got a flash over the wall as he is ignited and has to limp away.
BLG got themselves about 1,000 gold advantage at the moment. It's not anything too much to overcome for NIP, but anytime you've got yourself a Pantheon in the jungle composition, you kind of are on a timer. You need to be getting things going earlier on. Of course, the rest of the map doesn't so much fall off of a cliff. Doinb will be fine later on. Shanji's just going to be getting better and better the later into this game we go. But your Pantheon really isn't going to be able to one-tap people the later into this game we get. So you want to keep the pressure up as NIP. That's part of why they keep fighting, but even then, it hasn't exactly been working out.
Oh, this explains why Leave was able to take that turret on the bottom side. All right, Ben, you're being a little silly, buddy. You're being a little bit of a silly goose. Time to lock in for BLG and really for NIP, I think more so, because 50 seconds until this dragon comes up, And if BLG gets this Mountain Soul, it is going to be mighty difficult for NIP to actually chew through these health bars. It makes Leave's job that much harder. He's on 3 items. Remember, this is the guy that we expect NIP to really hang their hat on. And despite a couple of mispositionings in this game, 4-3-3, up 1,000 gold, gives you a fighting chance at this point in the game. Really can't ask for too much more.
At this point in the game, BLG, they've done what they needed to throughout the early game. Now it's about transitioning that into this mid to late game. Make it into a victory. I mean, BLG, they're going to be looking at NIP right here as a 2-0. They'd be incredibly disappointed to lose even a single game here on. Going to face check the bush. Very tanky at the moment, though, with this Poppy. Although he does take a little bit of damage, more than happy to be able to body the block that for his team. I think the Drake has actually been started up by Leave. You're going to have to go push in as BLG.
Yep. NIP have a decision to make, and the decision is to go on to this dragon. Let's see if Wei can get in there and steal the Wei, and can't quite do so. He's knocked out of the fight. See if NIP is going to look for a little bit more as Doinb was knocked out. ppgod getting seismic shove as Aki gets onto the back line, but he's stuck in 3v1, going to mitigate some damage as Leave is trying to get in there, but can't really do so. ppgod going in, and Leave got to the back line, and he's able to put down some serious damage. It's a couple kills for NIP.
There we go, that's exactly what we were looking for NIP. They get aggressive, get themselves the Drake, and then are able to turn this one around. And actually, pings right now onto the Baron. They're looking to extend this advantage that they've just been able to find for themselves. Yes, there's a decent push going on from Bin in the top side, but he's going to have to back off. Wei is alive, has no flash, has no ulti. I don't know if he's going to be able to even get close to trying to steal this. I think it's too late, it's gone.
Well, he'll be in position, but Doinb might be there to try to stop him. 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. Nope. Can't get it. NIP secures the Baron. BLG lose a 4v4, which is optimal for them with this Yorick composition. Take a look at this replay. This is the engagement here. Really like this ultimate coming through from the Pantheon.
Yeah, the Pantheon ulti is great. It's this moment, right, where Knight and Elk step up again. ppgod manages to get the flash in with the Magnet Storm, and I love the immediate follow-up from Leave. He doesn't pause for even a second before getting involved in that fight, exactly as one must when playing this Kai'Sa. So far, he's had a couple of good moments, a couple of bad ones. I think the main problem for BLG in that fight was it was just very split.
All right, Doinb's got to go golden here. Multiple members of BLG with the teleport coming in for the Scion is... He's going to steal the Xayah ultimate to at least escape for right now, but could cause a bit of a problem later on here as ppgod trying to mitigate some damage. Shanji now getting taken on by multiple members of BLG. He's got to flash away. Leave is here. He's full HP.
The ult away.
And it looks like NIP will survive, but they take the bad end of a trade.
Yeah, this is now multiple fights in a row where the TP comes in from Shanji and he's just not able to get anything done with it. Kind of just loses out onto that one. Actually, BLG so far have been looking slightly better in their team fights when they've had the Yorick available to them. I mean, between the Shojin and the Triforce, Bin does a lot of damage at the moment and heals quite a lot through his drain as well. So you can kind of understand him getting involved and then just returns back up to the top side. Didn't even have to blow the teleport for that play and can just continue on with the push. This has been a great delay so far out of BLG. Yes, you've had yourself a small advantage because of having the Baron buff, but they haven't really been able to hit too many towers up until this point.
All right, Doinb getting in there, but he's got to dash away. Now he's caught in the cage. He's not doing just fine. He's knocked up. He's got the Keeper's Verdict. Who's he going to drop it on?
ppgod.
Looking for a key member. Takes him out. Sends Knight flying. Elk going to dodge out of the knockup. They're going to take out Aki as well. Leave completely cut off. That seismic shove means that they're on Shanji, but he's not taking that much damage as Leave rejoins. Big stun coming through has been below half HP. As the Maiden will go down, another nice seismic shove as Shanji is getting lower and lower. And finally, NIP will be able to siege using this Baron just a little bit. Mid-inner turret will fall.
That was a lot of time in that fight where Leave was just able to open fire. He's now got 3 completed items and a BF sword. Was just shredding through whoever was in front of him. Managed to get the flash out of Bin because he was just melting in that situation. And these messy fights so far are actually coming out in favor of NIP recently. They've kind of hit their item breakpoints and they're just not letting up, right? The pressure that they're applying constantly is making it so BLG can't set up these team fights effectively for themselves.
2,500 gold lead for NIP and Bloxxer. It feels like BLG missed their opportunity when that 4th dragon was up. They just were a little slow to it. I don't think they expected NIP to be so snappy. But, I mean, NIP made that play onto the Otacon, and that was a snappy play. I have to say, when it comes to objectives, NIP, when they are ready to fight for an objective, they throw everything they got at it. They make sure they are ready. And right now they have full control of this river.
Yep.
With this dragon coming up in 50 seconds, if they can deny it again, I think that this game will be looking mighty fine for them.
Indeed. And it is great to see this one actually be back and forth. There was a slight worry in my mind that BLG were going to arrive and just dismantle NIP, but that's very much not the case. NIP fighting back at the moment, 4, 3, and 6 on their main carry leave. See if he's going to be able to carry his team through to the promised lands. I mean, BLG losing even a single game right here to NIP would be crazy.
Without a doubt, and it would really cast a lot of doubts on if BLG can turn it around, right? I think we're still holding our breath, holding out hope. This team has been the team that the LPL has really relied on to have international success, especially given the last year Flash Play Blade. Here comes Pantheon getting into this back line. Who's he going to hop on? Not going to use anything yet is Doinb. Oh my god, he was able to find a way back into the fight.
What?
ppgod is very low. Aki on the backside trying to deal with Elk, but Leave gets back there. His shield is running out, but he's got the Guardian Angel. Now, can you stop Bin and Wei? You can't. They're on top of your carry. Shanji's here too little too late.
My.
As BLG, hold your breath no longer. They win a convincing fight against NIP.
There it is. That's the fight that we've been waiting for right here out of BLG. NIP get drawn way too close into that one. It's still a little bit of a mess, but in this back and forth, BLG will rise. And now, with those 3 grubs and your Yorick available to you, these towers are going to melt. 30 seconds until the majority of the main carries are back up and available. I don't know that you can end right here, but BLG, they're certainly going to be able to push forwards. Could potentially take themselves down this entire game. 20 seconds.
Position to end.
ppgod is up.
All right, let's see what ppgod can do. Can he actually kill the Maiden? It's really low, and he will fall. The Maiden's still standing as BLG will end this game. Aki up in 2 seconds. I don't think he can stop them. He's going to give it the old college try, but is stuffed once again by On. The Nexus will fall, and it wasn't pretty, but BLG win the last fight and win the game.
Hey. If it works, right? The Nexus does fall. BLG are going to be 1-0 up in this series. They made it tough for themselves. They lost a couple of these fights, but it was just 1 or 2 moments right there. Really, in the end, 1 moment where NIP step a little bit too far up and just immediately get collapsed upon.
Yeah, it was a little icky. And, you know, for NIP, I think they just had to wait till Shanji got there, right? Shanji was a long way away. It was the big reason why they ended up not coming away with the win in that fight. Credit to Leave. He did what he could. He was in a bad spot. He had to try to get to the back line at the very least to get that damage. Try to kill Elk, was successful, but in the end, the numbers game was too much. And then you see Shanji running in with his ultimate after everybody's dead, and it's like, tough one if you're an NIP fan. And for BLG, I think it's time to put the Yorick on the bench. The play away from the Yorick was not spectacular. The side lane play from Bin was also not spectacular.
No.
Give yourself a champion with a little bit more agency.
Yeah, I like the Yorick overall as a pickup for some of these top players, especially teams who have been struggling a little bit with the macro. It can make things a bit easier to just constantly have a member or two having to go and deal with the Yorick on the side lane. I don't necessarily love it for Bin in this situation, and honestly, any of the times we've been seeing it from him, I agree. Put it on the bench. You pick up the win, though. At least there's that. Now, potentially, we can see Bin on one of these more aggressive champions, or even just on a tank. He's been looking good on those two. The Yorick, it wasn't ideal, but, you know, it's a victory.
Yeah, you'll take the win any way you can get it, especially when you are, you know, BLG, who has been struggling, as we said, kind of limping through the entire year right now. We're still waiting for them to really turn it on, but you know, after witnessing this game, this is a game that we really expected BLG to come in and take care of business. It's a match that we expect them to 2-0 because, again, as we talked about earlier, an incredible record, a sparkling record against teams lower than them in the standings. But this game one gives me a lot of pause. We did say if any team would upset them, it would be NIP. But I don't know, man. Some of these fights just look way too ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, even NIP, some of their engagements earlier, too, were not great, and BLG was not taking advantage of, you know, some of the miscues and were creating a lot of their own. So really disappointed in them. And, credits at NIP. They played this game pretty well up until the last team fight where I'm not sure if they could have played it worse.
Yes, I think that was quite literally the worst possible way to have lost that game, because you're in a good spot right now. You've done the hard part, which is getting some kills onto your Kai'Sa and onto your Pantheon, putting them into a good spot to be able to carry the game. Shanji's getting tanky. Yeah, he's missed a couple of engages, but actually, overall, it's been pretty good. ppgod was finding some great magnet storms as well on this route, and you could see it here. They had found themselves this big advantage, nearly 3,000 gold in the lead, just at the point at which you really want to be coming online, and then it all immediately goes wrong, and they lose the game off the back of just a couple bad decisions.
Classic LPL gold graph, am I right?
Yeah,
Knight
true,
had a
true.
really, really good game. He did a lot of damage, but not only that, his seismic shoves were great. He had a couple of really, really nice Weaver's walls. So now it's time, Bloxxer, to talk about MVP, right? And a lot of people were pointing to Elk, and, I saw the early fan vote had Elk, and I think Elk did play a really nice game. I don't know, though. I got to say, I really like that Weaver's wall play on the bottom side.
Yeah.
That is sticking in my mind.
Yeah,
And
there are a lot of good seismic shoves.
Yeah, and if I'm going to just, if my mind is stuck on one play, it's that one. So maybe I'm going to say Knight, only because I got the rose-colored glasses for that one play. But I thought he played a really, really good game overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think that overall, there's only a couple people I would really think you could put it on bin. It wasn't particularly impressive overall.
Say it. Say it with your chest, Bloxxer.
It was bad. It was bad. It wasn't a good look.
Bad.
Yeah, unfortunately not good. I think Knight overall had the best look. On had a couple of nice engages, but all I can think about from that entire performance from On was just him charging up the ulti, letting it go. Charging up the ulti, letting it go. Never was actually fully committing with it. Like, that being said, was actually able to find a couple of really good steadfast presences to just stop people from being able to engage.
He's like, oh, no. I'm gonna, I got it. I got the hammer. I'm gonna, that's pretty much what it was most of the game for him. But hit a couple that ended up being pretty okay. Again, not something I would really be like, oh wow, because he did have a lot of those really, really good flash E's, the heroic charge. But I don't know. The keeper's verdicts were not there for me. Knight played a more impressive game from start to finish. Good news for BLG's victory here is that Wei may have a little bit less ire drawn on him. He had a fine game. I didn't really notice anything too crazy. Nothing particularly poor. So,
decent early
nice.
ganks. No big issues. It feels so bad, right, for a player of this caliber, that what we're looking for from him right now is to not muck up the game for BLG. But that's kind of the state that we're in at the moment with BLG.
Yeah, and you would think that this is a match that he would really show up for because, he defeated Doinb in 2022 when Doinb was on LNG to make it to the Worlds play-in. Beat him in spring finals in 2021. You would think that this is a match where he's just like, another chance to get another win versus Doinb. And sure, his team did get the individual game win. See if they're yet to get the match win, but we're kind of waiting for Wei to really just kind of take over some of these games. But at the same time, we also want him to play champions that don't exactly do that. So we do have our player of the game. It is On. All right, I'm still okay with that. I still think he should have went tonight, but I can't be mad at this. He did make a lot of really big early plays. And one thing that we didn't mention, steadfast presence, so much value in this game. We mentioned that it would get value, but you saw the value. It was huge.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely did. Was just constantly stopping any of the potential engages that Arky or Doinb particularly wanted to lay down. Was really well played from him. And yeah, as much as I think Knight also had a great game, it was the two of them really that were laying down the CC and quite a lot of the damage, being able to just get Elk into good positions. I think Elk was kind of getting chased around in a lot of these fights, but when he wasn't, when he was actually allowed to sit and hit, it was On and Knight between them really just being able to set down the wall, keep themselves into a nice spot. And yeah, I think it was an overall pretty good performance right there from On.
Overall, good stuff for a lot of members of BLG. Going to look for them to refine and sharpen it. And for NIP, so close. And yet, up until they lost, they were winning. Hopefully, they'll be able to at least repeat the winning part as we go to Game 2. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll kick it to the Game 2 draft. See you there.